that battling COVID-19 led to a humanitarian crisis of mammoth proportions? That's the question that many are asking today, including the Supreme Court, which heard a clutch of PILs demanding that the state and central government be directed to step in and help thousands and thousands, perhaps lakhs of migrant workers making it on foot across the country just trying to reach home. So here's what happened. It's been nearly a week since Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced a 21-day lockdown, which is required to break the chain and ensure that the number of cases of those infected by this global pandemic does not rise here in India. But a consequence of that was that a large number of people who work in the informal sector in India, whether they are migrant workers, whether they're daily wage laborers, suddenly found themselves without work, without money, without food, and in a lot of cases without shelter. So they decided to go back home. With public transport shut down, they decided to walk their way home on foot. This has led to heart-rending images coming from across the country of people walking sometimes for days and sometimes with little children with no food to eat. Now, on the other side, this has also led to issues and fears that the whole purpose of the lockdown will be disrupted if any of these people become carriers of the COVID-19 infection to the remote parts of the country, which is why we've seen some scenes today, and shocking scenes from two states actually, of migrant workers who are coming in and crossing borders, literally being hosed down, in one of the cases with chemicals to ensure that they don't infect others. Now, this is a huge issue in front of us, and everyone is wondering how to solve it. But can we really find a way to keep the dignity of fellow Indians? These are desperate times, but do they call for measures this desperate? To speak more on this, I'm joined today by Alok Shrivastava. He's a Supreme Court advocate and, in fact, a petitioner in the case that the top court is hearing right now. I'm also joined by Sujatha Rao, former Health Secretary of Government of India. Welcome to both of you, and thank you for speaking with us today. Mr. Shrivastava, let me begin by talking about the key tenets of your petition, and I know that the case is sub judice, the Supreme Court will hear it. You have asked that state governments keep the migrant workers where they are. Now, a lot of states have already started that process. Do you think that that's satisfactory?
No, I don't think the entire problem has been solved. I must surprise you. On Friday, I filed this PIL in which I suggested that we can't even let these people mingle with the village crowd, because once this disease spreads in the village area, it will be like uncontrollable. So I suggested that you please keep them in the nearest government shelter or government accommodation. And kindly see, if you'll see my PIL, I have specifically mentioned the words in a dignified manner. So I also said that you don't have to treat them badly. You please put them in a, or keep them in a dignified manner, in a proper place with proper food, water, and shelter and medical aid, etc. And keep them at least till this lockdown continues. Because see, we have to strike a balance. We have to take care that these people, because this entire episode is heart wrenching. The kind of situation which we saw in last 2 3 days on our television, it was extremely sad. We saw that people, including women, children, small children, divyang, those were forced to walk on foot for hundreds of kilometers. And as per few media reports, the sad update is that 22 people have lost their lives while walking. 22 of such migrant laborers have actually lost their lives. Some of them are a victim of road accidents. One person who walked for 200 kilometers from Delhi to Agra, he had a heart attack and he died. So considering the scenario, considering the situation, although now government of India has acted and issued a circular yesterday itself, saying that okay, we are accepting all the prayers and we are going to provide them shelter wherever they are. And for last 24 hours, I believe some of the states are also taking measures. but still I feel, and I'm of a firm belief, that many of such people are still stranded across India. The administration is yet to reach to them, and that is why I'm pressing upon in my PIL that please direct each and every police authority, every police station across India, every district administration across India
Right.
to carefully identify those migrant people in their respective areas and then take remedial measures. Don't make it just as a paperwork, but also do this on the ground, because their pain is like unbearable.
No, okay, but no, absolutely. But Mr. Shrivastava, now the question is, and let me get Ms. K. Sujatha Rao here, as someone who's had experience working in government and in health, of course, in different capacities as well. This is truly a tough situation. I mean, looking at the shocking pictures of people being hosed down today, there are pictures from Bareilly, then there's some pictures from Kerala, and another fight has started about, which was humanitarian and which wasn't. Indignity in both cases. But my question is that what can we do to achieve both purposes? People need to stay where they are. They cannot become carriers and, cause this infection to reach remote parts of the country where healthcare is even more abysmal than in the larger cities. On the other hand, you cannot have more people starving than those who will possibly be infected by COVID-19. So what really do you think can be done at this point?
You asking me? Hello?
Yes, Misra.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
There are two.
Misra.
Yeah. So, I think there is a class angle to this whole infection. After all, the people who brought in the infection are largely middle class people who were either traveling abroad or they were studying abroad and they've come back. So I am hopeful and I hope to believe, and I'm being optimistic, saying that they may not have really been able to, the infection may not have really penetrated into the section of these people who we are now talking about, and that there may not be that many carriers of this infection. I have no reason to say that I'm right. I have no data, but I'm just hoping that keeping the source of infection and the likely recipients of infection, which are these very poor people, maybe there is a disconnect as yet, and they may not be that infectious. So we don't need to immediately condemn all the migrants as great sources of this infection and stigmatize them. Having said that, in any case, even if one or two people are there, they can spread it fast because they're not keeping the distance between each other, and they are crowding together. So that is a cause of worry. And the third is that when they do go into the villages, the whole problem came in because we were not given enough time. Even the best administrative system, that with the top class IAS officers or any officers you might name, would take at least 48 hours to work out all these arrangements to enforce this such a major unprecedented directive as what was given on Sunday last. So I think they got into a panic situation largely because there was no clarity and the people didn't know what to expect. Had the people got to know that they will be taken care of, maybe and perhaps they wouldn't have started walking towards their villages and get into this panic that what will happen to us. So I think somewhere there, this that's the reason why in public health, transparency and communication is simply one of the most important components of a strategy. You cannot do public health measures among the people, which is population health, without having proper, clear
Right.
instructions and communication with the people. The people must understand what you're saying. They will cooperate. They absolutely will cooperate if they know what is happening.
So a lot of the government is facing quite a bit of flack for the accusation is that was the lockdown put in place without enough of a warning or preparation. Well, the Sunday Janta curfew did give people a taste of what could be coming. And on Tuesday, the curfew did actually come in. A lot of states, including Maharashtra, pretty much had lockdown like measures from earlier, even before the nationwide curfew. The question is, what can be done now and what could have been done differently? Mr. Shrivastava, there was no other way around the lockdown, was there? And there is no way to tell that who could be a carrier and who is not unless you test everyone, and we don't have the facility to do that. It is a catch-22 situation.
Definitely, definitely. I agree with you. There was no other option but to go ahead with this sudden lockdown. But I must tell you, now after 4 days of lockdown, when we witnessed this situation, this sad situation, and PIL was filed and all these things happened, now government has adopted certain remedial measures. Like government has said that no landlord can demand rent at this situation. If he demands, he can go inside the jail. Government has issued, MHA has issued an advisory yesterday saying that no company can withhold paying the salary to his daily wage laborer also. So all these measures which are coming up now or which came up now, these things would have been thought upon immediately before the lockdown. A confidence building exercise would have been done, a proper counseling would have been done in the poorer areas, poorer sections of our society. See why these people suddenly started fleeing from their houses in a large number. If you see, if you carefully analyze, you'll understand that one most important reason was that their landlords started asking about the rent. The grocery items which they were buying from local grocery shops, those items started getting of overpriced. And there was a rumor in those areas that this lockdown will continue for another 3 4 months. So I, while agree with you that this sudden lockdown was required, at the same time I also feel that the government should have done this exercise which it is doing now, or which it did yesterday. This exercise would have also been done before announcement of this
Could have been
lockdown.
done earlier. Yes.
With proper planning. And you see now 22 lives have been lost and many have been injured. And many of these migrant workers may not even now come back to the cities like Delhi or Mumbai, which will be end of the day, becoming another cause of concern for these big cities. So if you assess the entire situation, you'll also, I believe, agree with me that there was a
Mr.
requirement of
Srivastava, you've actually hit the nail on the head. You've actually hit the nail of the head. A lot of people, and Ms. Sujatha Rao said earlier that this has highlighted the class difference in this country. That one set of, people who are moving from place A to place B get hosed down, another set of people get flown down from wherever they are, and they might be the one who are actually bringing the infection in. But for those wondering that, does it really matter to us what is happening with these migrant laborers? Well, what if they don't come back and your city doesn't run, your megapolis doesn't run? Because it is on the backs of these people that these cities are being built. Ms. Sujatha Rao, way forward. Some states have stepped in, some are still waiting to step in. It will be uneven. It is a state subject, health at least is a state subject. What needs to be done right now to make sure that no Indian suffers any longer?
This is now being implemented not under the Ministry of Health, which is, of course, and infectious diseases is a concurrent subject, so it's not a state subject. But having said that, disaster management is again a concurrent subject, which both center and state have a responsibility. And before I move on to the way forward, I'd like to remind you that the Disaster Management Office, I would be surprised if they don't have a detailed plan for evacuation and identify school buildings and all where people can be kept. I mean, this is a routine practice for cyclones and natural disasters, and this exercise ought to be available in that office of the Disaster Management Office. So I really don't know why that was not brought into full play and used, because suppose there's a nuclear thing tomorrow, these plans are ready and they should be available. Okay, having done that, now at least we must immediately try and see whether we can contain them from going back into the villages, because we do need them to stay on in the cities, and whether they can make the temporary shelters for them and provide food packets and provide money to them, and also see that the contractors or whoever owes them money gives them their salaries. I think this can be done in the cities. After all, the cities have a huge, municipalities have a huge network of councillors and bill collectors and ward workers. They can easily go into the community and get them all to work. and getting this information and rehabilitating them. But it's a tall task. It's all a matter of trust. How much will these people trust that they will be taken care of and they may want to go back to their homes? It's a very tough situation we are in. But I would only like to conclude, Tamanna, saying, whatever be the reason, whatever be the situation, we must have a humanitarian approach to the whole problem. Just using police force, beating them, stigmatizing them, this is not on. This is not public health at all. And this is not acceptable one bit for a
No, and
civilized society.
you can't have a differential approach.
Yes, can't have a
Absolutely,
differential.
you can't have a differential approach for those who have come back from London and Dubai and then attended several parties with VIPs, hidden their record, but nothing happens to them. And those who've lost homes and shelter and food will get hosed down and be made to squat and be hosed down. That's just not done. That's not fair. That's not who we are, and that's not what we can tolerate and allow to happen while ensuring that this does not spread. We'll wait and watch this space and hope that there is concrete action on migrant workers, that things get sorted over the next couple of days. Thank you so much, Mr. Shrivastava and Mr. Rao, for joining us on this discussion. We'll take a very short break right here on the India Development Debate. When we come back, if the ups and downs in the market has got your pulse racing, we're getting you the biggest voices telling you exactly how to make sure you stay afloat.